Welcome to Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord. Thank you so much for joining me today as we are going to discuss Saturn entering Aries for just about 3 months in 2025. But we're approaching this from a very high frequency, high voltage angle because this Saturn in Aries is bringing in some very important energies here that are helping you develop your new timeline experiences. We've been talking for a while about timelines collapsing, merging, and shifting. Well, here comes Saturn in Aries, helping you to build what is truly next for you, but to do it intentionally and consciously, as well as in preparation for the new starts that are coming in 2026. So please note that in this show, we're only discussing Saturn in Aries from May 24th, 2025 until September 1st, 2025. So that is only a span of about 3 months as Saturn dips his toes into this first sign of the zodiac, initiating new energies, light codes, downloads, dreams, and what you want to build. What you are feeling is part of your sacred mission and where you want to provide a structure at a whole new level in your life. Yes, I am optimistic about this. And I know you're going to hear a lot about Saturn in Aries in terms of what it means astrologically. And we will cover that in today's show. But I also want to make sure that you're connecting the dots here, that Saturn in Aries is receiving these high frequency connections from Neptune in Aries, Uranus in Gemini, and Pluto in Aquarius. This makes it a very rare starting point, and it also means that we are elevating with these higher influences and frequencies. When you have all three outer planets interacting with the timekeeper, the gatekeeper, the seriousness, the responsibility of Saturn, Saturn is going to be elevated in terms of what you feel called to do in your life. And many of you are going to sense that your life purpose is changing. It's time to shift and move into a new territory that you've never ventured in before. Perhaps you've been receiving the guidance, the messages, the higher understandings. Now it's time to make it real. And that is one of the influences of Saturn. Saturn requires us to look at what will it take to create this in my life? What will it take to build, develop, and invest in this part of myself, which is Aries, that is also coming online at a whole new level. There is a lot of elevation going on here, and this is part of the cycle of the new earth frequencies arriving and us grounding and planting in those frequencies, but it starts with ourselves. And that is Aries, your sense of self, your self-identity, how you identify with your own soul mission and soul purpose now, how your world is changing. And I don't want to discount how that can trigger us and bring up fears and doubts and bigger questions about what do I do now amongst all these changes and shifts? What do I choose? What is correct? It can certainly bring up your own worst case scenarios, whether those are mental, emotional, financial, physical. And what I'm seeing here as this Saturn enters Aries and begins to have important cosmic dances and supportive alignments with the outer planets, you are being realigned, and I'm seeing it as a shift to the right. Like it feels like an energy shift that is moving you in a new direction that could feel like it's right here, and it could feel too like your body starts to pulse at a new frequency and with new energy codes when you sense this realignment that is taking you in a new direction that you haven't been before in this lifetime. Now, getting back to Saturn in Aries. Saturn enters Aries every 29 to 30 years. This is the case for Saturn's ongoing journey through all 12 astrology signs. So depending on your age, Saturn has already been in Aries in your lifetime, but Saturn has never experienced these high-level, intense connections to the outer planets in this way. And so this Saturn in Aries is actually a whole new transit that is designed to activate more of our dormant frequencies and And I'm seeing it as dormant DNA, dormant cellular energy. I'm even seeing that it brings our attention to how we run energy through us, because I'm seeing it through the blood flow in the body. Aries is connected to the blood flow and movement in our physical selves, including what gets us moving and going, where the adrenaline gets pumping, and how we work with energies that are ultimately a catalyst. I'm feeling this as our physical selves are grounding in new ways of operating in the world that allow us to be more responsible and in control of our physical experiences and movements, because there is a new intelligence that we have access to around understanding what we want, how to go towards it, and how to make moves towards it. See, I'm seeing this as blood flow being cleared out and cleaned out. And I don't know how else to describe that other than I'm seeing cleaner blood flow through the body that has more purity and more light in it, as if we have deeply cleared out a lot of density that was in our blood flow. And this could even be through your own bloodlines, like through your family and your lineage. You've done deep work that has reprogrammed you at a cellular level. And again, I keep being drawn to a healthy blood flow that is pure, stronger, and more vibrant. So trust that if it resonates. Don't make it fit if it doesn't resonate. But I do feel that's part of this renewal energy that is coming online and strengthening us, especially as Saturn moves into Aries. So let's get to some of the basics of Saturn entering Aries. This will happen on May 24th at 11:35 p.m. Eastern Time. So for some locations on the planet, it will be on May 25th. Saturn will then be at the 0 degrees of Aries world point, which is significant for new developments happening on the world stage and globally. For example, this could be when the new Pope is declared, or there are new leaders, new managers, new authority figures who embark on a new role and leadership titles. Planets at this world point are very important, and the energies in the collective tend to be more heightened and visible. Saturn moving into Aries and staying at 0 degrees means that there is a clear new starting point here that we are all feeling, and I want to bring it down to a personal level for yourself. Now, the Saturn energy is looking at what you want to build, create, and commit to. Saturn is a slow-moving planet that requires us to have dedication, focus, and invest in our long-term goals. So when it's at a 0 degree point, it's initiating a new energy, which is the case in any astrology sign. But at 0 degrees of Aries, it's initiating a whole new 30-year growth trajectory that requires us to be highly aware of who we are now, what we want, and what we don't want. Saturn is about our limitations, boundaries, and challenges. It's what we have to do on our own, where we have to stand up, get it together, move ahead, understanding that you are in charge of your energy and your life. So what are you declaring now that is true for you? And what are you finally complete with? I feel that this particular journey of Saturn in Aries in 2025, remember, it's only going to be for just over 3 months. You're going to have new clarity around what you're starting and what you're ending this year. And those endings might require greater responsibility, might require you to stay with something, to see it through. You can't just dash out the door and start the new thing. There's an overlap here. And that's because even though Saturn enters Aries in late May, Saturn will retrograde and re-enter Pisces on September 1st and travel back to 25 degrees of Pisces until November 27th. So this 3-month journey of Saturn in Aries is bringing you into a stronger sense of who you are now, what you want, what you need, where you are ready to be more independent, courageous, and to live life on your own terms, less compromising or diffusing your energy for others, less need for approval or validation outside yourself. Again, Saturn is where we bring the energy in and you establish a new boundary, even in your aura or around your aura, around who you are now, what you you accept, what you allow, what you invite in, what you close out. And this is going to be a 3-month process of gaining strength around what you want to commit to that is truly in your best and highest good. And that means you're going to also have to establish your no's, your no thank yous. I'm stepping away from this. I'm complete with this. Perhaps understanding more about where your energy is not coming to life. You're not feeling that it's true for you anymore. This could also be about a deep self-honoring and gratitude for others, those who have been on your path and contributed to your journey, and you realize you need to head off in a different direction now, or you simply need to honor what is best for you, which in turn allows them to do the same. So understand that with this Saturn and Aries influence, everyone is being guided to align with their truer path right now. And that will involve some closures, breakups, endings, and goodbyes that are actually right on time, because Saturn wants us to move into a new beginning that is calling to you. And in order to do so, you have to free up your own time, energy, and calendar for what that's going to be. So understand that not only are you feeling this, but other people around you are as well. And I'm seeing that it's allowing the separations to occur that is going to be a beautiful energy gift of love, acceptance, and respect for those who have to go on their own path. This can include retirement, stepping down, signing off, perhaps some difficult announcements or conversations where you need to let people know what you're thinking, what's on your mind, and to share with others honestly and truthfully what you're choosing and why. And that is part of the Aries energy, is honesty. Honesty around who you are, what you want, and why you're making decisions that you're making. And there can be excitement around this, inspiration. This can be a way of using that Saturn in Aries energy to encourage others to trust what is best for them, to remind others that it's time to follow a new dream if that's what they're feeling or sensing. Ultimately, I feel that this energy is helping people remember that we're all in charge of our lives, and that even though we can be on autopilot, or we can have an expectation of this is how I'm always going to live my life, this is my professional trajectory, or this is my home life, or this is where I've always lived, or this is always what I've always done. There's a powerful reset happening here. Again, it's bigger than previous cycles when Saturn was in Aries. And oftentimes it's those who are more energetically in tune and spiritually aware who feel the messages first, meaning you are probably a leader of some kind. And that's also the Saturn in Aries imprint, is that you go first. You break things up, you change the game, you change the direction, you make a new start, you declare something based on the truth of who you are, which then demonstrates to others how to do the same should they want to, and if they resonate, of course, with that energy. So understand that we are now calling in more amounts of personal courage and self-leadership to live a life that you really want now. And it can take time to get there, which again is a Saturn theme. It takes time to create that new lifestyle or to figure out a new process. It takes time to build a business. It takes time to build a relationship. It takes time to build a house. So understand that part of Saturn is working with timing to your advantage from a mature long-term perspective, that this isn't going to be built overnight. I'm not going to have immediate results, but I stay with it because it's worth it to me. This is what's true for me. This is in alignment with the life I want now or want next. And I feel that for many people, this Saturn ingress into Aries is going to start planting seeds around what that is for you more specifically. We know that the world is changing in very big ways. And of course, the astrology of 2025 is continually showing us that we are moving forward at lightning speed. There is no going back. You can't even go back. There's nothing to go back to. No, this is about pioneering a new phase of life. And I feel that it's in alignment with a very intentional part of your soul growth. I am feeling this more optimistically. And I need to say that because I know that a lot of people can be very down on Saturn. Oh, Saturn's so tough. Saturn's so hard. Saturn brings challenges. Saturn is a bully. Saturn only gives me more work. Well, you can always change that narrative for yourself. And you can understand that this is a level up experience. And that yes, with Saturn, there is more work. There is more investment, but it's designed to pay off. It's designed to help see you through and to connect you with the results you want, especially for the long term. This is where we make commitments. We sign contracts. We listen to what we truly want to put energy into, and then we show up and say, yes, it's a yes for me. I'm going to see this through. I'm going to honor this, and I'm going to watch it pay off over time. And so the whole issue of Saturn taking time is why Saturn can struggle in Aries if there is an immature Aries energy present. Now, this is where that Aries energy is too impulsive, moves too fast. Maybe there is short-sightedness or too much investment in oneself without understanding the ramifications or consequences it has on others. Saturn is meant to mature Aries, and just like Mars is exalted in Capricorn, I believe that Saturn can be very strong in Aries because of the leadership component, because of the ability to pace and temper what you want, to see it through and to build it up. This can be a very commanding, powerful presence, leading from self-respect and personal integrity, demonstrating to others, demonstrating to a team, a family, a group, this is how I honor myself and my energy. This is what I allow and what I don't allow. And that Saturn energy has strong boundaries around self, around time, around what you put your focus on and what you move towards. And so this also is going to apply to you personally around what you allow into your energy field, what you allow to take up your time or access your energy, and what you do not. I like to think of this as Delta One lounge access. If you've ever been in the Delta One lounge, or you've simply heard of it, it's very elite access, right? You have to have a certain mileage accumulation, or you're paying a certain fare to fly Delta One, which is their supreme high-end lay-flat seats. And in fact, anytime we talk about status, we're talking about Saturn, because Saturn is your credentials, what you have access to, what you've earned, and the rewards that come from that. And just to say, this podcast is not sponsored by Delta, but I just want to paint a picture around how you value your energy now and what it means to be crystal clear in your priorities, goals, and life direction. Not everyone has to have access to you. Access denied is powerful and important, especially for lower frequency, low vibrating, or childish energies. Saturn doesn't stand for that, right? There's no temper tantrums in a Delta One lounge. And so part of this transit is in looking at where in your energy you are ready to strengthen and mature into more of yourself that embodies a higher frequency, more self-confidence and self-love, which in turn results in anything of a lower frequency falling away and no longer accessing you. It's really beautiful how this energy works, especially if your intention is loving kindness to yourself and full acceptance of others and their choices. This is also where Saturn in Aries has the ability to go it alone, where there are fewer people in a Delta One lounge. I mean, there were a lot of open tables at the one in Boston. And so what does that mean to you to be in your own energy more? For some people, it's going to light you up. It's going to strengthen you. It's going to bring up a stronger sense of who you are now, what you want, what matters to you. It certainly is going to enforce your auric field and send out new energy signals that you're meant to fully own and embody. And then for others, it could bring you into a state of deeper questioning around, who am I now? What am I about when my life isn't about these other priorities or people or connections or things that I used to think were so important? Saturn in Aries brings you into a deeper knowingness of what your soul came to build and experience in this lifetime. And I feel that the soul is going to come alive as Saturn moves through Aries, especially in 2026. And I'm seeing it as this sacred fire that is being built, and that there is a new structure forming that is being built with these higher energy codes. So I'm also seeing the Saturn Saturn in Aries as stepping into being a new architect of your higher timelines and higher frequencies. And for many of you, you might feel this deeply resonates with new earth energies, with 5D and multidimensional consciousness energies that you are really owning and allowing into your everyday experience, that you're ready to live life from this energy, that you've been through enough that has tested and tried you. And I'm sensing new declarations. In fact, I'm seeing new soul contracts being written to yourself around these sacred commitments. And again, this new burning fire that's rising that is meant to move you forward into the higher timelines that are going to be opening up, especially into 2026. So let me give you a little bit more of a roadmap here of these energies. So after Saturn enters Aries on May 24th or 25th, 2025, Saturn is going to receive a square from Jupiter in Cancer at 1 degree. This occurs the middle of June, June 15th. And of course, Jupiter enters Cancer on June 9th. So both Saturn and Jupiter are in cardinal signs, which are about initiating and growing into new parts of yourself, especially Saturn in Aries and Jupiter in Cancer. Now, the square between the two means that for all the things that Saturn in Aries is intentionally focused on and saying, I want this, this matters to me, I'm going to build this. Here comes Jupiter in Cancer saying, but do you love it? Does it connect with your heart? Does it really incorporate the fullness of what you desire? And I feel this Jupiter in Cancer, not only is it very feminine, soft, loving energy, but it also holds emotional wisdom that wants us to tap in to maybe those silent parts of ourselves that we override. And so here we have a more receptive influence that Saturn in Aries is meant to trust and say, okay, you're right. I didn't consider this. Or yes, I want to bring in more of that. I want to bring in more of the feminine, flourishing energies that I didn't initially see, but I'm feeling it deeply. So the middle of June is going to have a pause as Saturn in Aries squares Jupiter in Cancer, and we need to check in with not only what we want, but to ensure that it includes our heart, our loved ones, and can allow us to soften any of those hardened edges. Then Saturn is going to move forward and will station retrograde on July 13th at 1 degree 56 minutes of Aries. So Saturn only gets to basically 2 degrees of Aries before stationing retrograde. And after Saturn is retrograde is when he begins to dance with the outer planets. And this shows up as near conjunctions with Neptune in Aries in July and August. They don't have their exact conjunction until February 20th, 2026. But in July and August, they are dancing together, and you could consider them conjunct. I mean, I think of it as it's slicing almonds. They're both at 1 and 2 degrees of Aries, July and August. They're only minutes apart. So again, slicing almonds, they're close enough. They are moving together through the same initiating territory in your chart. And I feel that this Neptune in Aries is granting you a greater understanding of what's possible, connecting you to a bigger dream, and perhaps even overloading your system at times with the energy frequencies. Neptune can feel like it wears us down and we feel more tired, more lazy. We don't have our same vitality with Neptune. And so when Neptune and Saturn are together here in Aries, we do have to be more intentional around what we're approaching and what we're doing. But I feel like there's going to be a burning fire that stays lit, and it feels like it's carrying us into these new energies and new timelines. Now, not only is that Saturn retrograde dancing with Neptune and Aries, but Saturn will have an exact sextile to Uranus in Gemini the middle of August. August 12th is an exact sextile with Uranus in Gemini at 1 degree 12 minutes. And this is going to plant some seeds in our collective consciousness around developments, new starts, exciting inventions and creations, bringing in the use of new technologies, new ways of experiencing our daily lives, breakthroughs and advancements, and some crazy new inventions that will actually start to be used in our daily lives, particularly related to transportation. So faster planes, flying cars, maybe new forms of bicycles and scooters, and who knows what else. But even though Saturn is retrograde in Aries, this first connection to Uranus and Gemini is opening up pioneering ways of living our lives that will continue to unfold in 2026 and 2027. At a personal level, you might be ready to change your life, make a new move, switch up your daily routine. There is certainly greater independence here. It's a rise in entrepreneurship and following a creative path. This sextile is dynamic, fast-moving, and brings in greater freedom. It has a much different pace to it than earlier in 2025 when Saturn was in Pisces and Uranus was in Taurus. They had a sextile throughout most of April 2025 in those two signs, and that was more internal, receptive, cleansing, purifying. It was more about, okay, yes, I understand where I'm at. I'm ready for the change. And then here in August, the changes happen and they take shape quickly, even to the point where they could feel head spinning. And so on that note, the energy really gets turned up to 11 with new creations, visions, and life developments, as the Saturn retrograde in Aries will also start moving into a closer sextile with Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. Now, they don't make an exact sextile here in 2025, but again, they're within range. They're within a few degrees of each other. Saturn is moving slowly in the retrograde phase and will only be about a degree apart from Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. So here comes Pluto to supercharge where you're ready to go next. And so this could feel like there are things coming through for you that are crazy and impossible. And how would that happen? How could that work? Which is something Saturn always asks. How is that plausible? How can that come together? Well, when you're dealing with the three outer planets, Neptune in Aries, Uranus in Gemini, and Pluto in Aquarius, anything is possible. Here comes that Mach 11 button. You know, the red button that you shouldn't press. That's what's going to be hit here in July, August, and September of 2025. And I feel that it's really working with our consciousness around what's possible, around what we can actively and intentionally create that was not available previously. We didn't have the understanding or the consciousness to it. We couldn't conceptualize it or even expand our awareness enough to connect with it. But I feel that it's going to start to take shape here and that we're going to see a very big growth in collective consciousness and awareness that begins to tilt the trajectory of where humanity can go. It's interesting. I'm seeing it as a tilt. It's just a slight bend. But you know how if you were to turn something even 2 degrees or 3 degrees, that might not look like a significant shift, but over time, that 2 or 3 degrees is significant. I'm seeing this as lines on paper, you know, where you're using a compass and you just tilt it 2 or 3 degrees and it's not much at the beginning, but over time, it certainly is impactful. And I'm definitely feeling the presence of off-planet beings, of more cosmic technologies, extraterrestrial awareness, higher states of conscious intelligence coming onto the planet. And I feel these as benevolent energies. I feel them as a force that wants to support humanity in our growth and to guide us into new directions, again, that weren't available until this year, or at least it didn't resonate with enough people. And yet humanity's consciousness is evolving and expanding so much that there's going to be more acceptance of what we can co-create together. And as I say that, I'm seeing definite power shifts. I'm seeing revolutionary changes in the collective that aren't just political. In fact, that's not how I'm seeing this at first. I know that when I say this stuff, a lot of people go right into politics, and I don't. I'm not here to be a political being who fights with other political beings in this this lifetime. I see it more as a revolutionary change in the dense, dark, egoic energies that have been stuck like tar on the earth. And I feel the energy like Gaia shaking up the foundation. So this could certainly be a significant volcanic eruption in a highly populated area, but I'm seeing it energetically as loosening up what has been deeply entangled in the collective psyche as acceptable, and now it's being destroyed and dismantled as unacceptable. Okay, this is funny. Now I'm seeing it as cleaning an oven, and the oven can have a lot of those hardened, crusty black stains or glops. And it looks like it all starts to soften and it gets removed, and it's not only dismantled, but it's destroyed, permanently destroyed. So I think there's going to be some big upheavals here as Saturn moves into Aries, and there is an uprising in the type of leadership that's needed and accepted on the planet. And so Saturn directly relates to leadership, authority figures, managers, mentors, elders, and those holding more responsibility. There's going to continue to be some significant turnovers worldwide. I'm also seeing some big deaths around individuals who have been holding those dark density egoic energies, and they're not going to have anywhere to connect on the planet. So when we look at all this energy as a whole, when we look at Saturn's ingress into Aries, again, for only 3 months in 2025, but the interactions with the 3 outer planets, all in these very early degrees of astrology signs, the planet is going through upheavals, changeovers, and transitioning points that are going to become more evident the middle and second half of 2025, and it's going to lay the groundwork for new leadership structures to rise, new individuals to take the helm, new priorities that are guided by the higher consciousness. People are also going to be held responsible. They're going to be held responsible for their actions, behaviors, choices, and words. And that's going to be a very interesting time of consequences and revelations, because Saturn in Aries wants your true character to be fully aligned with the new higher timelines that you're meant to move into. And I feel like some people aren't going to. Interestingly, I feel like some people are not going to consciously choose to grow or evolve, and they are going to be left behind, but not as a form of punishment, more as an honoring of their sovereignty and their free will. But there's going to be some big disconnects. Like, that's part of going back to this trajectory shift. There's going to be some big disconnects occurring here around those who commit to going into their own growth in this lifetime and those who do not. You've probably heard how 2025 is about the big shifts, about how we are furthering that divide between the 3D and the 5D, but understand that all is well. In the higher realms, all is well. There is nothing wrong. There is nothing that you have to personally correct or take on. Rather, it's about looking at, what do I choose for myself? What do I choose for me? And the Saturn in Aries is going to direct you in that way, because it's also going to show you what doesn't resonate, what doesn't align, what isn't for your best and highest good. Now, this brings up some of the lower octaves of Aries energy, which can be competitive, overly self-involved, too impatient or childish, and unaware of the bigger picture. Saturn, again, is going to mature that. Now, I know I mentioned that earlier in the podcast here, but it slows it down. And I feel that those who are not growing and maturing in these ways, they're going to have things that are really at a standstill. And I'm feeling too like this is part of us moving into more of the new earth frequencies of collaboration, connection, and co-creation. And Saturn in Aries is saying, well, what do you bring to the table that will help others, that will benefit them, that will maybe show them something they haven't seen in themselves? Because the mature Aries directs you back to who you are, reinforces that you are empowered to know yourself first and to trust your gut, to trust what you want to create as a sign from your God self and your higher wisdom. And so those who are open to doing that are going to pave the way and lead people into more of these new earth frequencies and these higher timelines that do not involve competition or being number one or having to prove anything. In fact, there is no number one. There is no one who's the best. It's you being your best. It's you doing your best. That's the only thing there is to evaluate. Am I doing my best today? Am I willing to improve and to learn? Am I willing to see what I could change up or approach in a new way? So that's also part of this paradigm shift here as Saturn moves into Aries, is that we're not interested in competition or upholding an outdated hierarchy where only one person is the best or number one. That's the old world, and that doesn't serve the many. In fact, it doesn't even honor how everyone is here to beautifully shine their light in this lifetime and feel good about who they are. And so I think this Saturn in Aries is going to reveal more true intentions around who is working and serving the collective versus who's only working and serving themselves and who is only self-involved to their own detriment. Saturn in Aries has big transits here in 2025 in just a 3-month phase. So in your chart, look at where you have these very beginning degrees of Aries, 0, 1, and 2 degrees of Aries. As Saturn comes in here and is going to ask you to make responsible commitments to what you want. And if you do not know what you want, ask your guides, ask your angels and whatever beings you may connect with, ask them to bring you solid proof, direction, and information that you can work with and receive. Ask for what you need, and then look at how the guidance arrives, because Saturn will make it real. Saturn will make it clear to you what you're ready to begin and what is uniquely geared towards your energy. Saturn in Aries means that something has your name on it, and it's meant to show up here in 2025. Now, as I said, Saturn returns to Pisces on September 1st, travels back to 25 degrees of Pisces until November 28th, then stations direct and moves ahead in those final degrees of Pisces, and then enters Aries again February 14th, 2026, where it will stay until 2028. So 2025 is introducing you to the next chapter, the new beginning, how you are here to be more independent, to be more powerful in yourself, to honor what you want, what has your name on it, where you're feeling the energy is lifting you up and moving you forward, and also connecting you to these higher timeline frequencies that we've been talking about that have been coming in, and now they're going to be real. They're going to be real, and they're going to be changing your reality, which is another factor of Saturn. Changes your reality. Things are going to look different in terms of how you live your life, how you go about your world, and even what you are engaged in on a daily basis. So I will be talking about this even more as we move into the rest of 2025, but the new starts are coming in, the new beginnings are approaching, and this is a bigger Saturn transit because of the interactions with the 3 outer planets, especially in July, August of this year. I'll be doing some more videos for you on YouTube discussing Saturn entering Aries, and we will also be discussing it on the Wednesday podcast episode as we cover the weekly astrology transits. If you haven't done so yet, you want to check out the 2025 Soul Growth Astrology Program, where I go into more specifics and details around the Saturn in Aries. It's a big topic. And so this is a program that shows you more of what to look at in your chart, more of the specifics of Saturn in Aries, as well as the interactions with Neptune in Aries and how they're going to be working together this year. It's a very unique energy. Saturn and Neptune are conjunct every 36 years. And so that conjunction is exact February 2026. It's not there yet, but we're feeling it and we're sensing it. And so know that whatever you're feeling or sensing is most likely the universe sharing with you, this is what is possible. This is the next level potential. And this is what is coming in for you. And so the 2025 Soul Growth Program gives you more of that exact information. Plus, of course, all the other big energies that are incoming here in the next few months. So do check out the program. It is on sale with coupon code 2025. And it's a program that you reference throughout the year. So you bring your astrology chart to understand specifically what's going on for you. Then you want to come back and look again at what is going on when we have the next round of eclipses in September. Perhaps you want to check it out when we have our next Mercury retrograde. It's designed to be a program that you reference and continually access because it's a lot of information. It's a lot. It can be too much at once. But I've been doing this annual program for 5 years now. It has benefited so many people. So many of you love it, and you use it to understand your own chart. And one of the best things that I feel I can do as a professional astrologer is direct you to your astrology, direct you to who you are, the energy you have access to, what you came here to experience and move through in this lifetime. And that's why astrology is such a beautiful navigational tool for us to use. So check it out. I hope you enjoy it. Feel free to ask questions in the comments. I respond. I get back to you there. And you might also enjoy seeing the other comments that other people have asked as well. So as always, thank you so much for joining me. I will be back every Wednesday and Monday for a new podcast episode. And it is always a joy to connect with you through this shared passion of astrology. Have a beautiful day ahead, and I look forward to connecting with you again soon. Take good care.